They say the truth will set you free. But when I walked into that courtroom and saw Derek sitting at the defendant's table, I didn't feel free. When I testified about what he did to me, I didn't feel vindicated. And when the jury read the verdict, I felt nothing. Because no verdict could give me back what they took. But it's time for absolution. Not any dramatic way, not a violent way, but a cold, calculated, squeaky clean legal way that no one can ignore.
Hey there, listeners. This is Talks from the Net. I'd really appreciate the kindness you all showed to me by sticking till this far. Please drop a like and subscribe to Talks from the Net.
The night before Derek's criminal trial started, I couldn't sleep. I stood in my apartment, the same one I'd returned to after my release, still bearing the scars of the police raid, and I looked at myself in the mirror. My dead eye stared back at me, pupil fixed and dilated, seeing nothing. A permanent reminder of what they'd done. I was supposed to testify tomorrow, tell the jury what Derek had done, how he'd framed me, how my life had been destroyed. My lawyer, David Chen, Marcus's brother and the head of our legal team, had prepared me. The defense is going to try to make you look angry, he'd said. Vindictive, like you're out for revenge against your cousin because of family drama. You need to stay calm, factual, let the evidence speak. What if I can't? I'd asked. Then we lose. So I practiced, standing in front of the mirror, telling my story without emotion, just facts. My name is Marcus Thompson. I was arrested on April 17th for a crime I didn't commit. My voice was steady. I spent a week in jail. I was beaten by a mob while police watched. I lost vision in my right eye. Still steady. My family abandoned me. My employer fired me. My life was destroyed. My voice cracked. I tried again. And again. And again. At 3 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep. I sat on my couch, staring at nothing with my one good eye, and I waited for dawn. The courthouse was a zoo. Media everywhere, cameras, reporters shouting questions. I arrived with David and Marcus. We'd coordinated with Sarah and her legal team to arrive separately. The prosecution didn't want the jury to see us as a team against Derek. As I walked up the courthouse steps, I saw them. My family. Uncle James, Aunt Claire, my parents, my grandmother. Other relatives I hadn't seen in years. All there to support Derek. My mother saw me, our eyes met. She looked away. My father's jaw clenched. Uncle James put his arm around Aunt Claire, who was crying. They were there for Derek. The assaulter, not for me. Never for me. I walked past them into the courthouse. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, more intimate, more suffocating. I sat in the gallery on the prosecution's side. Sarah was there too, 3 rows ahead of me, flanked by her victim advocate and her parents. This was the first time I'd seen her parents. Her father was maybe 60, gray hair, wearing a suit that looked uncomfortable. Her mother was crying quietly. They'd almost lost their daughter to Derek's violence. And then the system had put me on trial for it. I wondered if they hated me, if seeing me reminded them of their daughter's trauma. But Sarah turned around, found me in the crowd, and gave me a small nod. Solidarity. We were in this together. Derek was led in wearing a suit. His lawyers had dressed him well. He looked professional, sympathetic, like a man falsely accused. He didn't look at me. Not once. The jury was selected 7 women, 5 men, ranging from mid-20s to late 60s. Diverse group, mostly middle-class working people. People who might understand what it's like to be destroyed by those with power. Or people who might see Derek as a good man who made a mistake. We'd find out. The prosecutor was a woman named Jennifer Hartley, the same DA who'd initially charged me. She'd recused herself from my case after Derek's arrest due to conflict of interest, but the new prosecutor, Amanda Cross, was a veteran. Amanda stood before the jury, and she didn't mince words. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about a man who committed a violent SA and then framed his innocent cousin for it to avoid consequences. Derek Matthews didn't just sexually assault Sarah Chen. He systematically destroyed Marcus Thompson's life to cover his own crime. The evidence will show premeditation, calculation, and a staggering lack of remorse. By the end of this trial, you will have no doubt. Derek Matthews is guilty of SA, evidence tampering, and filing a false police report. And he needs to be held accountable. Short, direct, powerful. Derek's defense attorney, a slick guy named Robert Kelso who probably cost $500 an hour, took a different approach. Ladies and gentlemen, my client Derek Matthews is a good man, a father, a husband, a respected member of his community. He has no criminal record, he's never been in trouble with the law, and yet he sits before you accused of a heinous crime based on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of his cousin, a cousin who has every reason to lie. Marcus Thompson was arrested for this crime. He was humiliated. He wants revenge, and he's using this trial to get it. The prosecution wants you to believe that Derek would SA a woman just to frame his cousin. That's absurd. That's not how people behave. What's more likely? That Derek committed this elaborate crime, or that Marcus, bitter about his own arrest, has fabricated evidence to destroy his cousin. Keep an open mind. Look at the facts, and you'll see Derek Matthews is innocent. I felt my jaw clench. The defense's entire strategy was clear. Make me the villain. Sarah took the stand on day 2. She looked small in the witness box, fragile, but when she started speaking, her voice was clear. Amanda walked her through it gently. Ms. Chen, can you tell the jury what happened on the night of April 15th? Sarah took a breath. I was at Lucky's bar with friends, celebrating a promotion at work. I had a few drinks, but I wasn't drunk. I left around 11:30 p.m. I said goodbye to my friends, walked to my car in the parking lot. It was dark. The lighting wasn't great. What happened next? Someone grabbed me from behind, put his hand over my mouth, dragged me between 2 cars. I tried to fight. I tried to scream, but he was too strong. Her voice was shaking now. He SA'd me in that parking lot, and I couldn't stop him. I tried. I fought as hard as I could, but I couldn't stop him. She was crying. The jury was riveted. After it was over, Sarah continued, he ran. I was on the ground. I couldn't move for a few minutes. When I finally got up, I called 911. The police came. They took me to the hospital. They did a SA kit, and I gave them a description of my attacker. What description did you give? Black male, mid-30s, about 61, athletic build, short hair, scar near his left eyebrow, red Nike hoodie, dark jeans. And what happened next? 2 days later, the police called me. They said they had a suspect. They asked me to come in for a lineup. And did you identify someone in that lineup? Yes, Sarah looked down. I identified Marcus Thompson. I was certain it was him. The height, the build, the scar, everything matched. I would have bet my life it was him. But it wasn't him. No, her voice broke. It wasn't him, it was his cousin, Derek Matthews. They look so similar. In the dark, traumatized, I made a mistake. Ms. Chen, do you see the man who actually SA'd you in this courtroom today? Sarah looked up, looked directly at Derek. Yes, that's him. Derek Matthews. He SA'd me, and he let an innocent man go to jail for it. Robert Kelso stood up, smiled at Sarah. It was a calculated smile, sympathetic but skeptical. Ms. Chen, I'm very sorry for what happened to you. No one deserves what you went through, but I need to ask you some difficult questions. Okay, Sarah said quietly. You said the attack happened in a dark parking lot with poor lighting, correct? Yes. And you were grabbed from behind, correct? Yes. So you didn't get a clear look at your attacker's face during the assault itself. I saw him under the parking lot light before he ran. For how long? I don't know, a few seconds, maybe 5 or 10. 5 or 10 seconds in a dark parking lot after a traumatic assault while you were on the ground, injured, terrified. Yes. Ms. Chen, is it possible that in those 5 or 10 seconds, traumatized and in poor lighting, you didn't get a perfect look at your attacker's face? I saw enough to identify him. You saw enough to identify someone who looked like him. You identified Marcus Thompson in the lineup. You were certain. You said you'd bet your life on it, and you were wrong. Sarah's jaw clenched. Because Marcus looks exactly like Derek. They're cousins. They have the same build, the same features. So you're saying you can't tell them apart? In a photo lineup with similar photos, no, but in person. Ms. Chen, you sat in a room with Marcus Thompson 3 weeks ago, face to face, and you said yourself you could barely tell them apart. So how can this jury be certain that the man in this courtroom is the one who attacked you? How can you be certain you're not making the same mistake again? Amanda objected. Your Honor, counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Mr. Kelso, move on. But the damage was done. Kelso had planted the seed. What if Sarah was wrong again? Sarah left the stand shaking. Her mother rushed to her. I watched from the gallery, and I felt rage building. Kelso had just re-traumatized Sarah to defend the assaulter. And it was legal. It was strategy. This was how the system worked. Day 3 was all forensics and evidence. Amanda methodically presented the security footage, enhanced images of Derek in the parking lot, his face, his clothing, his movements, side-by-side comparisons with my DMV photo showing the similarities that led to Sarah's mistaken identification. The red Nike hoodie found in the dumpster near my apartment, Sarah's DNA on it, fibers matching the parking lot's surface, Derek's skin cells inside the hood. Cell phone records, Derek's phone pinging off towers near Lucky's bar the night of the assault, then pinging off towers near my apartment, then pinging off towers near the dumpster where the hoodie was found. Financial forensics, evidence that Derek had Googled how to frame someone for a crime 3 weeks before the assault, evidence that he'd looked up my address, evidence that he'd researched photo lineups and police procedures. The anonymous tip, phone records showing the anonymous tip came from a burner phone purchased at a store near Derek's house. Security footage from that store showing Derek purchasing the phone 2 days before the assault. It was overwhelming. The jury was taking notes, lots of notes. When Marcus took the stand to explain his investigation, Kelso tried to tear him apart. Mr. Chen, you were hired by Marcus Thompson, correct? Yes. And you were paid, what, $40,000? Approximately. That's a lot of money. Did you feel pressure to find evidence that supported your client's narrative? I followed the evidence wherever it led. But your client was paying you to prove his innocence. That's a conflict of interest, isn't it? No, my job was to find the truth. The truth happened to be that Marcus was innocent. Or the truth is what Marcus paid you $40,000 to find. Marcus didn't flinch. The physical evidence speaks for itself. The hoodie with Derek's DNA, the cell records, the search history. I didn't fabricate any of that. But you did find that hoodie in a very convenient location, didn't you? A dumpster near Marcus's apartment, almost like it was planted there. By whom? By Marcus himself, to frame his cousin. Amanda objected. Speculation, no foundation. Sustained. But again, the seed was planted. What if I had framed Derek? This was it. My turn to testify. I'd barely slept for 3 nights, practicing my testimony, trying to stay calm. David had coached me. Tell your story. Let them see what this did to you. But don't get emotional. Don't get angry. The moment you lose control, Kelso will use it against you. I took the stand. Swore to tell the truth. Sat down. The entire courtroom was staring at me. The jury, the gallery, my family on Derek's side, Sarah on the prosecution's side. Derek finally looking at me with those cold, calculating eyes. Amanda began. Mr. Thompson, please tell the jury what happened to you on April 17th. I took a breath. I was in my apartment. It was a Sunday morning. I'd just gotten out of the shower. I was making coffee in my bathrobe when my door was broken down by police. 6 officers in tactical gear. They threw me to the ground, handcuffed me, and arrested me. I didn't know why. They wouldn't tell me. What happened next? They dragged me out of my apartment. I was barefoot in my bathrobe, handcuffed. There was a crowd in the hallway, my neighbors. They started screaming at me, calling me a monster, an assaulter. I didn't understand what was happening. When did the assault occur? When we got outside, the crowd followed. Someone grabbed me, started hitting me. Then more people, fists, objects being thrown. I was begging the police to stop them, but they didn't. They just stood there and let it happen. Is that when you sustained your eye injury? Yes, I touched my dead eye instinctively. Someone slammed my face into the police car. I felt something crack. Everything went red, then dark on that side. The pain was, I can't describe it. What is the current status of your right eye? I'm permanently blind in it. The orbital bone was fractured. The optic nerve was damaged. It's irreversible. The jury looked at my eye, really looked at it for the first time. They could see it, the fixed pupil, the slight droop of the eyelid, the scarring around the socket. Physical proof of what the mob had done. Mr. Thompson, did you SA Sarah Chen? No, I'd never seen her before in my life. Did you know her? Had you ever been to Lucky's bar? No, I work from home. I don't go out much. I'd never been to that bar. Where were you on the night of April 15th, when Sarah was assaulted? I was home, in my apartment. I have building security footage showing me entering at 6 p.m. and not leaving until the police broke in. I have keycard logs, computer activity timestamps. I was home the entire night. So how did Sarah identify you in the lineup? Because I look like Derek. We're cousins. Same height, same build, same facial features. We even have the same scar. I pointed to the scar near my eyebrow. Derek dressed like me, committed the assault in a location near my apartment, then called in an anonymous tip giving the police my name. He framed me. Why would he do that? This was the hard part. Because he hated me, because I'd become successful and he was failing, because in our family I've always been disposable, and he knew that if he framed me, my family would believe it. They'd choose him over me, and he was right. Amanda continued, can you explain what you mean by disposable? I was an unplanned pregnancy. My parents have always resented me for it. I was the burden, the mistake. Derek was the golden child, perfect, planned, wanted. So when Derek needed a scapegoat, I was the obvious choice. And when my family had to choose between us, they chose him, even after they knew he was guilty. Your family knew Derek was guilty. Yes, my parents admitted it to me. They said, between you and Derek, the choice was obvious because Derek has kids and a wife and I'm alone. They decided I was more expendable. Murmurs in the courtroom. The jury looked shocked. Amanda let that sink in before continuing. Mr. Thompson, what has this done to your life? And here's where I almost broke. I lost my job. My employer fired me the day I was released from jail. I'd worked there for 8 years, gone in one email. What else did you lose? My family disowned me. My parents, my uncle, my aunt, even my grandmother, they all cut me off, told me not to contact them, raised money for Derek's defense while I was emptying my savings to prove my innocence. What else? My reputation. My name is permanently linked to this. If you Google me, the first thing that comes up is Marcus Thompson, wrongly accused of SA. Even with the wrongly in front of it, it's there. Forever. I can't get hired anywhere. I've applied to 47 jobs. I've gotten 3 interviews. All 3 ended when they Googled my name. What else did you lose? My home. I can't live in my apartment anymore. My neighbors openly admit they assaulted me out of jealousy, not justice. I get threats. I get harassed. I had to move to a different city just to feel safe. What else? My sense of safety, my trust in people, my belief that the system works, my faith in my own family, my voice cracked. I took a breath. My eye, my literal vision. I wake up every day and I can only see out of one eye. And every time I look in the mirror, I'm reminded of what they did to me. There's no escaping it, no moving on. It's permanent. The courtroom was silent. Mr. Thompson, did Derek Matthews frame you for SA? Yes. Are you certain? Absolutely certain. Robert Kelso stood up, buttoned his suit jacket, approached me with that same calculated sympathy. Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry for what you've been through, truly, but I need to ask you some difficult questions. I didn't respond, just waited. You and Derek have never gotten along, have you? We got along fine as children. As adults, we drifted apart. Drifted apart, or did you resent him? I didn't resent him. Really? You've testified that he was the golden child, and you were the black sheep. That sounds like resentment to me. I resented how the family treated us differently. I didn't resent Derek personally. But you were jealous of him, weren't you? He had the perfect life, wife, kids, successful career, and you had, what? An apartment and a job. I wasn't jealous. You weren't jealous that your family loved him more than you. They didn't love me at all, so no. Kelso paused. That answer had disrupted his rhythm. Mr. Thompson, you've spent $40,000 investigating this case. You've hired a private investigator. You've filed multiple lawsuits. You're clearly very invested in destroying Derek. Isn't it possible that you framed HIM? How would I have framed him? You planted the hoodie. You fabricated evidence. You convinced Sarah to change her identification. I didn't plant anything. The DNA evidence is real. Derek's search history is real. His cell phone records are real. I didn't fabricate any of it. But you had motive. You were humiliated by your arrest. You wanted revenge. I wanted justice. Justice or revenge? Is there a difference when you've lost everything? Kelso smiled, like he'd got me to admit something. So you admit you want revenge? I admit I want Derek to be held accountable for assaulting Sarah and framing me. If that's revenge, then yes, I want revenge. And you'll say anything, do anything to get it. I'm telling the truth. Are you? Or are you a bitter, jealous man who's using this trial to destroy his more successful cousin? I felt my anger rising, felt my control slipping. David had warned me about this. I took a breath. Derek essayed Sarah Chen. He framed me for it. The evidence proves it. My feelings about Derek don't change the facts. The facts, as interpreted by a private investigator, you paid $40,000. The facts as proven by DNA, cell records, search history, and video footage. Facts that are independently verifiable. Kelso studied me. You want Derek to go to prison? Yes. You want him to lose his family. I want him to face consequences for his actions. You want him to suffer like you've suffered. I looked Kelso straight in the eye. Yes, I want him to understand what he took from me. I want him to lose everything like I did. I want him to know what it feels like to be destroyed by people you trusted. So yes, I want him to suffer. But that doesn't change the fact that he's guilty. Kelso nodded, no further questions. During the lunch recess, I went to the courthouse bathroom. My father was there. We stood at adjacent sinks, washing our hands, not looking at each other. The silence was suffocating. Finally, he spoke. "You're tearing this family apart." I turned off the water, looked at him in the mirror. "I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm exposing what was always there. Derek made a mistake. Derek SA'd a woman, and then he framed me for it. That's not a mistake, that's a crime. He has children. And I had a life, a career, a future. Derek took all of that from me, and you let him." My father's jaw clenched. "We made a choice for the family." "I'm family," I said, my voice rising. "I'm your son. Derek's children need their father." "Then Derek shouldn't have SA'd someone and framed his cousin. That's on him, not on me. You could drop the charges. You could let him take a plea deal, 5 years instead of 25. He could still see his kids." I laughed, that hollow, broken laugh. "You want me to show mercy to the man who destroyed my life, the man you chose over me?" "We didn't choose." "Yes, you did. You admitted it. Between you and Derek, the choice was obvious. You said that to my face." My father looked down. "I'm sorry you were hurt, but Derek's kids are innocent. So was I, and you let me burn to protect him. So no, Dad, I'm not dropping anything. Derek is going to prison. And then I'm suing you, Mom, Uncle James, Aunt Claire, and everyone else who participated in this. You want to talk about tearing the family apart? You did that when you chose an assaulter over your innocent son." I walked out, left him standing there, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just emptiness. Derek took the stand on day 5. His lawyers had prepped him well. He looked remorseful, vulnerable, like a man wrongly accused. His attorney led him through his testimony. "Derek, did you SA Sarah Chen?" "No, I would never do something like that. I'm a father. I have a daughter. The thought of someone hurting her like that, I would never inflict that on another person." "Do you know Sarah Chen?" "No, I'd never seen her before this trial." "Were you at Lucky's bar on the night of April 15th? "No, I was home with my wife and children." "Can anyone verify that?" "My wife can. She'll testify that I was home all night." Ashley would indeed testify to this. She believed him. She had no reason not to. He'd been lying to her for months about everything else. Why not this? "Derek, why do you think your cousin is accusing you of this crime?" Derek looked at the jury. His eyes were wet. "Marcus has always resented me. Our whole lives he's been jealous. Jealous of my relationship with our family. Jealous of my success. When he was arrested, he was humiliated, and he decided to drag me down with him. Do you think Marcus planted evidence to frame you?" "I don't know how else to explain it. The hoodie, the cell records, I can't prove I didn't do these things, but I know I didn't. And the only person with motive to frame me is Marcus." "Why would he frame you specifically?" "Because he's always wanted what I have. My family's love, my success, my life, and if he can't have it, he wants to destroy it." It was a compelling lie. If you didn't know the evidence, you might believe it. Amanda Cross stood up, and she didn't waste time. "Mr. Matthews, you testified that you were home with your wife on the night of April 15th. "Yes. But your cell phone records show your phone was near Lucky's bar that night." "My phone was stolen." "Stolen when?" "A few days before. I filed a police report." "Can you provide that police report?" Derek hesitated. I thought I filed one, but I can't find it." "So you have no documentation that your phone was stolen?" "It was stolen. And coincidentally, this stolen phone was used to commit a crime that your cousin was then arrested for." "I don't know anything about that." "Mr. Matthews, your Google search history shows you searched how to frame someone for a crime on March 28th, 3 weeks before the assault. Can you explain that?" "I was researching for a podcast I listened to, True Crime Stuff." "Which podcast?" "I don't remember the name." You don't remember the name of the podcast that led you to research how to frame someone for a crime. It was weeks ago. Mr. Matthews, you also Googled your cousin's address, his workplace, his daily routine. Why? I was thinking about reaching out to him. We'd grown apart. By stalking him online. Objection, argumentative. Sustained. Amanda switched tactics. Mr. Matthews, were you ever accused of sexual assault before? Derek's face went white. Objection, Kelso jumped up. That's irrelevant and prejudicial. Your Honor, Amanda said calmly, this goes to pattern of behavior and credibility. The judge considered. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mr. Matthews. Derek looked at his lawyer, looked at the jury. When I was 19, a girl at a party accused me of something, but it was dismissed. There was no evidence. No evidence. Or your father hired an expensive lawyer and made it go away. Objection. Sustained. Ms. Cross, stick to the facts. Mr. Matthews, that accusation was for sexual assault, correct? It was a misunderstanding. The victim gave a statement describing a violent assault. She had injuries consistent with SA, but the case was dropped due to insufficient evidence. Isn't it true that your family paid that victim to drop the charges? No. Isn't it true that you've done this before? That you sexually assault women and then use your family's resources to avoid consequences? No, that's not. And isn't it true that when you SA'd Sarah Chen, you knew your family would protect you again, just like they did 15 years ago? I didn't SA anyone. So you're saying both women are lying. Sarah Chen, who picked you out of a lineup, and the victim from 15 years ago who described the same pattern of behavior. They're both wrong. Or you're a repeat offender who finally got caught. Objection. Withdrawn, no further questions. Derek left the stand shaking. The jury had seen him rattled, had seen him unable to explain the evidence, had learned about the previous accusation. The tide was turning. Amanda's closing argument was devastating. She walked the jury through every piece of evidence: the hoodie, the cell records, the search history, the previous accusation, Derek's motive, Marcus's airtight alibi. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Matthews is a predator. He SA'd Sarah Chen, and when he realized he might get caught, he framed his cousin, a cousin his family had spent a lifetime telling him was disposable. He thought he could get away with it. He thought his family would protect him like they'd protected him before. And he was almost right. But Sarah Chen was brave enough to pursue justice, and Marcus Thompson was determined enough to find the truth. Don't let Derek Matthews walk away from this. Hold him accountable. Kelso's closing was weaker. He focused on reasonable doubt, on the possibility of mistakes, on Marcus's obvious vendetta. But you could see he knew he was losing. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. I sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, unable to eat, unable to think. Sarah sat nearby with her parents. My family sat on the opposite end of the hall. We didn't speak, didn't look at each other. Just waited. At 4:37 p.m., the bailiff came out. We have a verdict. Everyone filed back into the courtroom. The jury sat down. The foreperson stood. The judge, has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of sexual assault in the first degree, how do you find the defendant? My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. We find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupted. Sarah's mother sobbed. Aunt Claire screamed no. Ashley collapsed in her seat. Derek's face crumpled. I sat there frozen. On the charge of evidence tampering, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of filing a false police report. Guilty. 3 for 3. The judge set sentencing for 4 weeks out. Derek was remanded into custody immediately. As they cuffed him and led him away, he looked at me. And for the first time since this started, I saw real fear in his eyes. He was going to prison. For decades, his perfect life was over. And I felt nothing. No joy, no satisfaction, no relief. Just emptiness. Outside the courthouse, my family was waiting. Uncle James rushed toward me. "Are you happy?" he screamed. "Are you happy you destroyed him?" Security stepped between us. "You've destroyed this family," Aunt Claire sobbed. "His children will grow up without a father because of you." "No," I said quietly, "because of Derek, because he essayed someone and framed me. He made a mistake. Essay someone isn't a mistake, it's a crime." My mother was there too, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus, please, the sentencing is in 4 weeks. You can ask for leniency. Tell the judge Derek deserves mercy." I laughed. That same hollow laugh. Where was my mercy? Where was my mercy when you hung up on me in jail? When you chose Derek over me? When you admitted you knew he was guilty and decided I was more expendable? "We're family." "No," I said, "we're not. We stopped being family when you chose an assaulter over your innocent son, and now you want me to save him. Here I Sataned and declare you all are dead to me. I ducking disown you all. Duck you, duck all of you, and now watch me burn it all down. I am not done yet." I walked away, and I didn't look back.